Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Celtic Way YouTube channel, X page, and also the Facebook page as well. My name is Ryan McGinley. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Tony Haggerty as we will speak about Dundee 0, Celtic 3. Celtic have won 2 games on the bounce now as they look to go and make it 3 from 3 against Rangers on Saturday afternoon. Tony, how are you doing after that game? You were at Dens Park this afternoon. What did you make of today's proceedings?
I'm thawing out, Ryan, in the car as we speak, but there you go, parked somewhere off of Dens Park, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah, I was delighted with today. I thought second half they were excellent. First half they huffed and puffed, missed a glorious chance. Kyogo, just microcosmic of the way Kyogo's playing just now. The Kyogo of the last 2 years would have put that away. I mean, he was inches away from it being perfect, great pass, but second half, I mean, it was for the majority of the game one-way traffic, wasn't it? The stats bomb report will tell you that Celtic dominated, but
Looking forward to that tomorrow. That'll be there will be some big numbers in that. I presume
so,
up there with probably Dingwall as well in terms of the chances that Celtic had in the game. But what were we saying? Sorry.
2 down, 2 to go, Ryan. So give yourself another wee shot in the arm. It's a decent display at Dens, kind of domination from start to finish. And yeah, I was pleased with that. Pleased for certain individuals. Paulo Bernardo being one of those individuals, and also pleased for Mikey Johnston. I don't shy away from it. I've been a vociferous critic of Mikey Johnston, like a lot of Celtic supporters, but that's the kind of impact you want Mikey Johnston to make whenever he comes on. Have that end product, and I'm hoping that those 2 goals, that late brace, works wonders for his confidence and shows him that he can score. Because I'll give you a start, Ryan, that was his first goal since Dingwall, December 2019. That's 4 years, right, since Mikey Johnston last scored for Celtic. So that's the player that for 4 years that we've been raving about, or certain people have raved about, not myself personally. But that's the kind of Mikey Johnston that you've wanted to see. 4 years since your last goals is, that's a long time. I know he's been injured for a fair majority of that time when he's been out on loan in Portugal. So I'll cut him some slack that way. But he took his goals very well, and he praise and credit where it's due. But I know we made a big call putting Paulo Bernardo in both of our teams today, our starting 11s, but I think that's been vindicated, hasn't it, Ryan?
Absolutely. And before we get on to talking about Paulo Bernardo, I'd just like to say once again a big shout out to our sponsors, MPH Group. If you're looking for plumbing, heating, kitchens, or bathroom work, then please check out MPH Group and consider getting a boiler with Navien Boilers. That's the boilers that MPH Group do use. If you are interested, all their links are in the description. When you opt for a boiler installation through MPH, you'll be getting a free Navien Internet Controller, and you'll be choosing top tier efficiency. It can crank up your efficiency to an impressive 98%. They're covering the first year's service at no added costs. They offer flexible finance options. Please get up to the chill, and if you're interested, then please consider making a smart move with MPH and Navien. And we thank them once again for sponsoring this video, as well as all of our videos that we do on the channel. Yeah, I want to go on and talk about Paulo Bernardo, to be honest, because I think we were talking on the phone just before we did this. Sometimes before we go on these videos, we'll go and speak about what we're going to talk about. Just have a wee bit of order on this show.
Preparation, it's called, Ryan. Yeah, bit of prep,
Preparation, controlled chaos, whatever you want to call it. We aim to deliver it. Yeah. First of all, and I think it is an important point to bring up before we talk about how good Bernardo was, him and O'Reilly do move about the pitch the same, and you were saying that you were struggling to see who actually scored the goal between Matt O'Reilly and Paulo Bernardo. But as we're going to speak about, Bernardo got his first goal for Celtic this afternoon. It's another assist for Luis Palma. He probably should have had a lot more assists today. Thought he was one of Celtic's most dangerous players. Yes, he blew hot and cold with his deliveries and his decision making. But I think there was a stat that came up halfway through the second half. I don't know if the number went up. It might have went up due to Bernardo's goal, or that maybe that was just after it. But Luis Palma had made 9 chances. The next biggest in the game was someone with 3. So, he's making chances for the team, making his own chances. Just his own finishing and the finishing of other players that maybe is a problem. But Paulo Bernardo, first goal for Celtic. I thought he was man of the match today, personally. I thought he was absolutely everywhere on the pitch. showed what he can do with and without the ball. He gives you so much more on the ball than the likes of David Turnbull, who didn't come off the bench today. I just thought it was not a breakout performance from Bernardo, because I think that's still yet to come. Fingers crossed that's on Saturday against Rangers, but very much stepping in the right direction in his Celtic career, and Brendan Rodgers was quick to praise him after the game.
Ryan, we spoke about that. We wanted Paulo Bernardo to have a confidence-inducing performance to take into the Rangers game, and I think he grasped the nettle today. And we did speak about that, and we said we wanted him to be. He was your man of the match. I don't know. I thought Mark Riley was excellent again as well. But yeah, a toss-up between the two of them. They were very, very good. I described his goal as a ferocious trundler to... I think it was Brendan Rodgers who burst out laughing, because I said he's not got the cheek to claim that goal, has he? Because he got the faintest and merest of touches, but they all count, and it went in the net. So I was delighted for him, and he seemed to enjoy the moment, didn't he? Celebrated with the Celtic fans behind that goal. Loved it. And I love the fact that, that's what I want from Paulo Bernardo. I want a bit of dig, a bit of quality, and a wee half chance, and he stuck it away, and he's got the most important goal of the game, Ryan. He's got the one that makes you relax and breathe. And again, early into the second half, 52 minutes, 7 minutes after the restart, when you're thinking you've pummeled them, you've not been able to score. Is it going to be one of these games where they labour to a victory? But 52 minutes, you're breathing again. And I think Celtic, after that, just total dominance. And, it took Mikey Johnston coming on with a late brace and a late salvo to make the scoreline a bit more respectable in terms of the goals for. But yeah, I think Paulo Bernardo was excellent today. I really do. And if you can't grow in stature and confidence after that, then when can you? I mean, I don't think the Dundee goalkeeper will want to see the goal again, but it doesn't matter. They all count.
Yeah, absolutely. In the first half, he had a really good chance, a glancing header, a back header, kind of like Liam Scales' one, that when you watch it again, you see that it's going wide, but then it has a curl towards the end. You're thinking maybe it might creep in just at that far post. But I was very, very impressed with him today. I just love his work off the ball, and he's shown that in Europe. The numbers don't lie. He is a hard worker off the ball, but I think he showed more on the ball today than off it, which was brilliant. Really do want to see more of that from Paulo Bernardo as his career progresses at Celtic. As I said before, he's in the shop window to try and get a move to Celtic. It's different from Turnbull, that he's probably going to leave the club either in January or the summer. This is a guy trying to play for his permanent deal at Celtic. The way Brendan Rodgers was talking about it in a press conference that's going to come out in the next half an hour or so, the quotes might have already made their way elsewhere, but he's saying he was just easing him in the domestic games because he's still figuring out how to do it domestically.
How to play,
But he can still do, and that's quite an interesting comment, because it is different playing domestically than it is playing against higher quality in Europe, when you're going to have to be off the ball. Maybe he has to get used to having large spells with the ball. You'd think that he'd maybe be more used to that due to the fact he plays for a dominating team most years in Benfica. But the fact is he's growing, he's adjusting, and he looks as if he's going to be one of the main players going into the second half of the season. He'll be wanting to throw a spanner in the works for the homecoming of Hatate when he eventually does return to the team. It's somebody else that's taken an opportunity. It's no coincidence that he's started to up his game as Hatate comes back. Hatate is the benchmark, and Paulo Bernardo is just trying to get to that benchmark.
I hope I wasn't too premature a week too early, Ryan, with my prediction that these games throw up unlikely heroes. Today's game's thrown up the two most unlikely goal-scoring heroes, hasn't it? I wanted the unlikely goal-scoring heroes to be saved for next week, but I'd gladly have the same two make their mark in that game next week if they want to have an impact on it again. But mainly Bernardo. But just good to see him got off the mark. Maybe he can relax now. And he did a lot of good things today. A lot of off-the-ball stuff. But he did a lot of good stuff on the ball, as you say. And that's what you want. And he showed he can mix it. And I think the manager said that to him. Go and mix it. Because next week you're going to have to mix it. You're going to have to get in about it in people's faces and with and without the ball. So I was chuffed at that today. Really delighted. And, I think that was a dress rehearsal for next week, wasn't it? In terms of team lineup, team shape. I mean, Abada and Hatate, I don't think they're ready to start, but I certainly think that they might make guest appearances on the bench from the way the manager was talking, so, and that's, again, another boost as well. If they can get any minutes, that'd be fantastic, but you got to get the most out of the guys that are going to play, and yep, that functioned well for me today. I thought Riley was very good today as well, and I nitpicking. I was annoyed at Kyogo for missing that chance. I was cursing him, it really was, because I mean it's a brilliant pass. It was an inch perfect pass, perfect run, and just inches away from being utter perfection.
The only excuse that I can give him, and there's not any excuses at all, he should have put in the back of the net. Trevor Carson, it's actually poor goalkeeping because he makes it easy for Kyogo and where to go. He's just got to put it in the far post. I had quite a few chances today, escaped that far post. It was the same for Scales' header from a beautiful ball into the middle from Luis Palma from the corner. It's dying. It's honestly dying to be attacked. And Scales does attack it and it just goes wide of the post. But the only excuse that I can give Kyogo is that he thinks he's offside. I know you play by the whistle, but that's the only excuse. Does he think he's going to get flagged for offside as he puts it in the back of the net and he's been a bit lackadaisical?
Possibly.
Play by the whistle, but he's onside. The
he is
replay show that he's well onside.
Yeah, he's well onside, and he should just concentrate on sticking it in the net, Ryan, and asking questions later. That old, I think it was Bill Shankler that said, just stick the ball in the net, son, and we'll discuss your options later. And I think all strikers should do that whenever they're presented with those kind of chance. So, it's my only gripe about today, to be honest. But did notice that Palma is beginning to frustrate me as well with these corner kicks. He's trying to score, isn't he? Which is fine. He ain't no Charlie Tully, which is the ultimate Celtic Da reference. In fact, it's a Celtic Granda reference. To be honest, anybody that's old will remember that Charlie Tully scored from a corner, was disallowed, retake, took it and scored again, famously at Brockville for Celtic in the 50s. But yeah, I've still to see the evidence that Lewis Palmer's Charlie Tully, but every now and again he takes a brainstorm, doesn't he, and thinks, I'm going to try and score from this corner. And he'll do it one day, probably, and he'll put my gas at a peep. That's fine. Okay, I'll wait for that moment to arrive, but in the meantime, I know your deliveries are good. Try and find players. The one that Scales scored against Livingston, brilliant. The one you spoke about earlier on, with a header that could have gone in, so just that.
He does it against strangers, nobody's complaining, but I get it.
You know what? Again, an unlikely hero with an unlikely source of goal. Do it. That's what I was saying. And maybe that's what I've got a feeling that's what he's kind of thinking. I'm going to try this against Rangers at some point, so it's fine. They look great when they come off, don't they?
He's better when he's crossing the ball into the box rather than going for that shot, because you see even the ball into Scales, I'll talk about it again. Watch that again. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Scales, it's a disgrace that Scales doesn't score it, to be perfectly honest with you, because it's perfect. He's got so much time to just run onto it and put a head on it. And I think the header's okay. It just goes past the post. But yeah, I think he should have had more than one assist today. He's constantly... Now, I know that he's an infuriating player and he's infuriating you with his decision-making sometimes with corners. But that's what I like. I like a player that will continue to do something, that will continue to be vindicated. Because his goals and assists will vindicate him at the end of the season, because he will have a lot, because he keeps on going.
12th assist of the season?
Something like that is a crazy number.
It's 12 assists and 9 goals in all competitions this season, I believe. So yeah, I'm happy with that, Ryan. As I say, he might not have had the greatest game today, but he made the most meaningful contribution, which was to the first goal, and the first goal is always important. It's the one that gets you off the mark, and it helped Celtic go on and clinch that game. And I see some commenters are saying Celtic should have had more goals. Of course they should have had more goals, because he created enough chances to do so. I would be more concerned if they weren't creating. Ryan,
absolutely.
Right? No. Yep, were they a wee bit negligent in front of goal? Yep, that's fine, but I'd settle for the same again next week in creating chances, and here's hoping the guys can step up to the plate and bury them this time, because you have to drum into them the importance of when you get an opportunity next week that it has to go, it has to be taken. You have to be clinical and ruthless and all these words. So I can accept being a bit, profligate against Dundee if next week they're on their mettle and they turn that possession, that dominance and those chances into goals, because they're going to have to. You're going to have a team that's going to come and play you and rise to that challenge.
Goals against them count for double. They count for double in the grand scheme of the goal difference. Goal difference could be a factor this season. We don't know exactly how close this league is going to be. At the moment, it looks very close. The results on Saturday could potentially change that one way or the other. But as it stands, goal difference could well be a factor come the end of the season. And if you get a couple of goals against Rangers, then that will count for double. And it'll put you in really good stead for the rest of the season. I just think Celtic have an opportunity now to sort of do a 180 on the way the season was going. Saturday's a massive, massive chance to do so because they've managed to catch that slip. They didn't have a complete fall because, it could have went on for 3-4 games. They've stopped it at 2. They've realised their mistakes. They've got 2 very, very important wins against stuffy teams in Livingston and Dundee. Particularly impressed by the second half against Dundee in particular. I think it was just character building. It was a character building performance, and a couple of players really did stand up and be counted for, including Mikey Johnston coming off the bench and making that impact. I know he made an impact off the bench against St Johnstone, but this was even more so. He looked at home playing away from home. I don't know if that says a lot about the player himself, because I don't think he can necessarily do it at Celtic Park at this moment in time. But yeah, I was delighted for him. His first goal, Trevor Carson's going to be looking at that goal and having nightmares about it, because it is a shocking goalkeeping error. He kind of parries it into the back of the net. He should be saving it. The second goal's a bit more cleaner from Mikey Johnston, and he deserved that. He deserved not to have it's just a lucky goal sort of title next to him. He deserved the 2 goals on the day because he was making an impact. Yes, he came off the bench, but it was the desired effect, and he looked dangerous every time he was on the ball, and he got his rewards.
He looked bright, he looked sharp. The old story, isn't it? You don't shoot, you don't score, Ryan. He's not to know that the goalkeeper's going to make a rickets of it. But every winger or striker or a forward-minded player, they're hitting shots at goal to score, aren't they? And Mikey Johnston's come on and he scored 2, so I just hope that he can get some fillip from that, get some confidence, because he ran to the supporters as well and kind of relief that I've done something right, I
like
scored,
that.
And I like that too, and he has been just a whipping boy. On you go.
Yeah, sorry to interject, but it's just a point that I feel that needs to be highlighted, is the fact that, more than any other player, I think Mikey Johnston would have had every right to give a bit back, considering the support he's had over the past couple of weeks. Self-inflicted, yes, because of his performances, but it shows character within nearly 2 weeks since that, a week and a half since that Hearts game, when fans were sarcastically cheering when he came off the pitch at half-time. He could have easily given a bit of it back to the away support today, but he didn't. But he was smart in that moment, and he enjoyed it with the fans, and the fans loved every bit of it back. That shows that maybe there is a wee bit of feeling between the fans and the player, but I like that. That's character building, and I've got to applaud him for that move and that choice.
Ryan, the Celtic supporters are desperate to see Mikey Johnston fulfil his potential. They're desperate to see him add goals to his armoury. They're desperate to see him come on and do what he did today. He's had so many chances, and a lot of them had lost faith and had lost patience, myself included. There's still a large majority of supporters out there that still think he won't cut it and he should be sold in January or sold in the summer, whenever. But you have to, it's the old saying, you're only as good as your last game. Mikey Johnston has come on and put that game to bed and had a cracking wee cameo, and he's played himself right into that squad for the Rangers game on Saturday, and the manager rates him. So I'm not going to go against the manager or whatever his thoughts are, but you know what you're watching. You were watching a Mikey Johnston, which you were hoping to be watching for the last 4 years. As I go back to it, that's 4 years since his last goal for Celtic. Dingwall, Ross County, December 2019. That stat doesn't tell you lies, does it? Granted, I qualified that by saying he's been injured a lot at that time and he's been on loan in Portugal as well for half of one of those seasons, but he never got a look in under Ange Postecoglou. You have to ask yourself why. He's getting another look in under Brendan Rodgers. And, every other game where he didn't perform, people say it's the last chance saloon. Maybe this is the life raft that he needs to cling to now and say, right, I've scored, I've got that off my back, I've played well. If I'm going to be used as that impact player, these are the things I have to do consistently. You can't do it for one game and then not do it for the next 3 or 4. If Mikey Johnston's in that team on Saturday, i.e. the squad, and he's coming off the bench on Saturday, he's got to do that again. He's got to score, or he's got to make things happen, or he's got to look lively. And I think a lot of supporters would accept that, Ryan, consistently over a period, and not just a one-off game like today.
Talk about the mood music. If he was to do anything in a Celtic Rangers game, that would completely change the mood music, and that would probably change the trajectory of his whole Celtic career, because I thought it was over, to be perfectly honest with you, after the Hearts game. That was the atmosphere was toxic, and that the sarcastic cheering when he went off. Listen, you're entitled to your own opinion. I get that. I totally understand that. I just felt like that was the end. That signalled the end of Mikey Johnston's career. I thought he would have been maybe let out the back door in January, along with a couple of other players. But, you look at that game. There's your stage. Rangers game, exactly. There is your stage. If you get 20 minutes, if you get 10 minutes, if you maybe even get 5 minutes, there's your opportunity. But another player that took his opportunity today that maybe won't get talked about, that might go under the radar, I thought Yang was good again when he came on today. He came on, he played well against Livingston. I was looking at his on-ball values after that game against Livingston. It was really high considering the lack of time that he was on the pitch. I'm sure it'll be the same again, because he's such a confidence player, Yang, but when he knows that he's got the beating of his man, he'll continually do it all day long. He'll go down that byline and he'll take that. He's got a good delivery on him. It doesn't always come out to play, always, but when it does, he's got a good low driving delivery, and you've seen that against Aberdeen earlier on in the season. I'll double down on it. There is talent there in Yang, and it's got to be fulfilled one way or the other. If there's a loan deal to be had there, that he gets game time every single week, then I wouldn't be against it. Either that, or you're bringing him off the bench every week. We don't know what the case is going to be when Abada comes back. You'd imagine he'll be one of the first names on the team sheet, or one of the first names on the squad sheet, whether that be in the starting lineup or the bench. But I thought Yang was good again when he came on, and he made an impact. The two of them made an impact when they came on. Palma was trying to make an impact, and he made a lot of chances. He only got 1 assist in the game. Yang didn't get any assists, I know that, but coming away from that game, I enjoyed Yang's performance in that time that he was on the park. I thought O was okay when he came on as well. Had a snapshot chance that just went wide of the post. But yeah, I was quietly impressed by Yang, and it might have went under the radar, but I just wanted to bring that up because I thought he had a good performance.
Yeah, you looked sharp. You looked good. You looked interested. You looked hungry. I tell you, who didn't impress me at all, Dyson Maeda. And I'll tell you why. I thought the boy Owen Beck. I was going to
actually come on and talk to him. He is a person of interest for Celtic.
Yes, should be. But he's a season-long loan deal from Liverpool. But if you're talking about defenders, he played Dyson Maeda like a fiddle today. Excellently. Mm-hmm. It's one of the best defensive performances I've seen from a defender. Because I watched that, because I made it one of my points for the newspaper article in the instant analysis, and I flagged up Owen Beck, didn't I? And I said, this guy, he was Dundee's best player by a country mile, and he stood out. And obviously you can see that, a young talent, and he's not at Anfield for nothing, but he should be a person of interest, or somebody that you keep tabs on his personal situation and see what happens when he goes back to Liverpool after this loan deal. Just keep your eye on him, because I thought he was outstanding. I thought he was excellent. And even in the sprinting games when Maeda had a run on me, he covered the ground really quickly, and I think Maeda just chucked it against him. Just thought
didn't get any joy and was like,
can't get any change or joy at this guy, and just fell at the game and became disinterested. And I know Maeda is getting back to full fitness and all that, but that's not what I want to see from a Celtic player. I want to see him go back constantly and and challenged. But the boy Beck was, I thought, I don't particularly, when I'm watching Celtic, I'm focused because we're focused on doing instant analysis and we're trying to pick various individual players. So you're really attuned into them, but it very rarely does an opposition player performance make me sit up and take notice. But his did, because I was watching Maeda, because I was maybe thinking about meeting Maeda, the focus of one of my instant analysis points. So that's why I was I thought, who's this guy? And I looked him up and on loan for Liverpool, young in his 20s, 21, 23, something like that. 21, yeah. So, 21. So, really impressed with him. Thought he was very good. And I don't have a downer on Maeda per se. I just want to see him produce more in an attacking sense. I think he does the defensive shifts brilliantly when he's asked to do it, but he's just capable of so much more, isn't he? So it was just noticeable today that Maeda didn't have the beating of this guy Owen Beck. So there you go.
I think the only downside of Owen Beck, and it's nothing that he can change in his game, is just his physical stature. It's very similar to Greg Taylor in the fact he has a shorter left back. And I don't want to be sizist. I'm in no position to be sizist for a start. But I think Celtic just need a bigger body at left back. And I think
I know to do
even just by a couple of inches, you don't need to be 6 foot. 5'10", 5'11" will make all the difference in terms of headers. And Greg Taylor isn't even that bad in the air most times. He has a good leap on him, but I just think they need a more physical presence at left back. Owen Beck is a good player and he's a person of interest, but that could be one downside that Celtic see.
Yep, and I'm going to flick this up. Leave Maeda alone. He's getting up to speed. I know you hate him, Tony. Whenever ever said I hated Dyson Maeda, I've praised him when he's deserved it. I love the defensive role that he brings. I think it's excellent. So I'm going to refute that because hate's a strong word, and it's a terrible word, in fact, to say about somebody. And I'm not capable of hating anyone or anything. It's just not in my vocabulary. So a word like hate, I recoil from instantly, and I'll always flick comments like that up and address them because I don't hate people. I just call it as I see it. And there you go. I don't dislike him either.
You'll refute that as well. You're refuting the refute.
I just, I have my opinion on Maeda. I think he can produce a lot more, and I want to see him produce a lot more attacking wise. But you have to call it out when a guy doesn't play particularly well. But it wasn't so much that he wasn't playing particularly well. I was highlighting the fact that an opposition player played him really, really well. His best as I've seen anybody play Maeda. I love it when Maeda snuffs out Tavernier and guys like that, and I love it when he scores, but he doesn't score enough for my liking, and I want him to score.
Scored a lot of goals in Japan.
Yeah, I know, and he scored in pre-season when he was at centre forward, which made me think, all right, there's an attacker there and a good one, and it could be a clinical and a lethal one. So I want to see a bit more of that. That's all. So hate and dislike, I have to take issue with words like that. Smell the glove. I've got to be honest, and I will. So I'm Ryan. You know me. I'm incapable of these things, which some people label at you sometimes. And and I still love you. Smell the glove, even though you said that.
Listen,
about
we can all disagree. On that's absolutely. And it might just be a throwaway word, hate. Some people have different feelings on how strong that word is. You just see it one way, he sees it the other way. That's just the way it is. At the end of the day, with Maeda, I think he gets away with a lot. with the Celtic support, if I'm being perfectly honest, because of his defensive work. The fact that sometimes he looks as if he's never kicked a football in his life. People just sort of turn a blind eye. Yeah, but there'll be other players. Sometimes Mikey Johnston's one of them that will get a lot of scrutiny for maybe misplacing a pass once, when it is part of Maeda's game. You know, he takes a lot of risks. He's probably the biggest risk taker when it comes to taking an extra touch or playing a pass into an area where there's absolutely nobody, where you're like, what is he even seen putting the ball in that area? But his defensive work makes up for it. You know, you're going to get a shift from him. Much the same as Palma as well. You know, you're going to get a shift from Palma, which is why it's very hit and miss. I think some people just like the safeness or precision of what Jota brought to the team, and that's totally normal.
Listen, I love that he brings that defensive shift and that work rate and that energy, and when he's asked to do a job and negate certain players, he does it really, really well. I've no qualms about that, and that selfless, sacrificial type performance. He's performed that role many, many times, much to his own detriment, because it kind of negates him too. But I love that fact that he does that. I just think I've said this before, he's capable of so much more in an attacking sense. And today's a day when you have a go at a young guy like that, and he tried, and I just felt that he gave up the ghost because he wasn't getting any change from him, and that's fair enough. And as I say, Smell the Gloves entitled his opinion. We'll agree to disagree on it, but I just, words like hate and dislike, they're not
They're
me.
not in your they're not in your vocab. We know that.
They're not.
Tony Optimism Haggerty. That's your middle name. If it isn't, then it is now. Yeah. See, just while I'm socialing this press conference piece, would you be able to? We can talk about Cameron Carter-Vickers. Obviously, it was a big blow seeing him coming off the park. Obviously, you didn't see his face when he was coming off the pitch, but he looked distraught as if something had went wrong in his hamstring again. Brendan Rodgers talked about it after the match that he just felt a tightness. It doesn't look as if it's gone, but it's going to get assessed. But the signs are looking optimistic that he'll be able to play a part on Saturday afternoon if everything is clear tomorrow. Basically, I'm just giving you the floor to talk about how important Cameron Carter-Vickers is for that game on Saturday, because as it stands, looking at the injury troubles for both Celtic and Rangers, both of their first choice centre-backs could be out of that game, which could completely change the game as a whole in terms of a defensive factor.
Well, I think Celtic went to Ibrox and won with a makeshift defence, didn't they? So
it's very true, very true.
It doesn't frighten me as much as it probably would have if Cameron Carter-Vickers does miss out. He's taken off merely as a precaution. The manager said, he just felt tightness, and I think his words were, he told him not to be a hero. If he felt anything, just come off. So I think Celtic will be all over it from now, and I think he'll be fine for Saturday. Hence the reason he came off, 55 minutes? There was no risk involved. There wasn't any risk of him playing another 5 or 10 minutes and maybe aggravating something. It was just like, bit of tightness, right, off you come. They were 1-0 up, and I think they were 1-0 going on 2 or 3, weren't they, against Dundee, so you felt that a second goal was imminent. So I think they felt, all right, we're pretty safe here, because Dundee never really threatened in the second half at all. So, yeah, it would be a massive blow if Cameron Carter-Vickers wasn't there. But I think everybody, what was in mood music on the lead up to Ibrox? Everybody said Celtic were going to get caned 3-0 and 4. People were talking about 3-0 and 4-0. And I was steadfast in my belief, and I said Celtic will win. Ibrox told everybody the manager would come up with some sort of game plan, and lo and behold, they did win. So we're vindicated with that. And if Cameron Carter-Vickers is missing again, still think the manager came up with a game plan to negate Rangers again, which will involve Maida as well in that. You know what I mean? So, so I would be more concerned if the manager had said, we'll need to wait and see, but he was very optimistic. Just said, we took him off precaution, don't be a hero, son, off you come. Just felt a bit of tightness, but nothing really to write home about or worry about. Because he was asked if it was his hamstring again, and he just said, "Don't know." Just felt tightness. So describe tightness and where it is. That leaves it open to a wide range of definitions of where the tightness was. So, but I think if you're Cameron Carter-Vickers, you're not wanting to miss that game, are you?
Yeah, you don't want to miss that game whatsoever. He's so important. Of course, Celtic did win the last game against Rangers at Ibrox without Cameron Carter-Vickers, but Celtic want to be in the position that their best players are taken to the field. I know a lot of people, including myself, probably including you as well, that will feel a lot better if they see Cameron Carter-Vickers' name on that team sheet. They'll also feel better, even if they're on the subs bench, if Hatate and Abada are both on that team sheet on the subs bench, because it just adds a bit of prestige to the subs bench. The subs have not looked great the past couple of games in terms of the names that are on the bench, and that's not down to any fault of any individual. It's just the fact that there's some players that are out there that are out of the team at the moment that would be in and around the team. There's players that have been signed that aren't getting game time, they aren't making benches. I know we talk about it every briefing, but it's still the case. But even having those players back, I always think the strength of a team is when you see the team sheet and you're not worried. And I want that to be as much as possible on Saturday morning going into Saturday afternoon. If the Celtic's best players are there and available, then I'll feel more confident about the game. I'm confident anyway, just due to the last performance, but I'll feel even more confident if the likes of Carter-Vickers is starting and Liel Abada and Rio Hatate are both on the bench.
Yeah. And what will the roar be like, Ryan, if that team sheet's announced and Liel Abada and Rio Hatate are on the bench?
Oh, massive.
Right, so, and it's only Celtic fans that are in Paradise on Saturday. So a boost like that, get everybody going. You want this game to be similar to the game in February when Celtic caned them 3-0. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And that unforgettable night under Ange. You want all the ingredients. You want to try and recreate that every time that Rangers come to visit Celtic Park and they have no fans. That's the template for setting about your rivals with with no fans there to cheer them on. And I know Celtic aren't going to play that way because Rangers is a bit different, but I'm talking about in terms of the atmosphere. I mean, Celtic Park was rocking that night, and and if I was Brendan Rodgers, or I was I'd be showing them that on a loop this week and say, look, this is how this place gets when you guys do your bit on the park. This is how good it gets. This is as good as it can get. And Hatate was a major part of that. Abada was a major part of that. So to have those guys back, it puts that fear and doubt into the opposition as well, Ryan. Don't care what Rangers do. Don't care what players they're claiming are injured. Just don't care. It's all about what Celtic do on Saturday to affect this game. And I said it before the last time, and I'll say it again. I know they're currently unbeaten under Philippe Clement, but they're not that great, okay? And this will be the toughest test they've faced since Clement has come in. I know he went to Spain and he beat Real Betis, but this is the games you're judged on, your teams are judged on. And I said it the last time to people who were saying that Celtic were going to get hammered 3-0 and 4-0. Have you actually watched Rangers? They're not great. They're getting results and they're playing for a manager who's getting a tune out of those players. But we've heard it all before. This is the big game, the big acid test for them as well as ourselves. But I think if we can get it together, then we've still got enough to keep them at arm's length, Ryan. And that's not being optimistic. It's what I'm seeing and it's what I'm watching from both teams. Yep, Celtic have had a sticky patch, but I'd never back against Celtic at home, especially with home advantage and it being real home advantage with the crowd. Everything's got to, the ingredients are there to make it a real torrid 90 minutes for your rivals on Saturday, regardless of the personnel. Cameron Carter-Vickers will play, right? That's my...
He's played through worse.
Correct, he'll play, right? It was just a purely precautionary measure to make sure nothing untoward. You get Leila Baddock on the bench and Rio Hatate on the bench. That groundswell inside the stadium. I mean, the fans will go mental for that. You've got Paulo Bernardo, who you think, right, let's have it. What a bit of that. And you're hoping that if Kyogo gets a similar chance against Rangers, he would stick it away. You get Palma assisting. You've got even Mikey Johnston maybe want to be hungry to come off the bench and affect it in some shape or form in the last 20. That kind of thing. You've got you've got Yang. So you've got Matt O'Reilly, who's just the best midfielder in the country by a long way at the minute. So you've got a lot of pluses. These guys, they've had a wobble. They're slowly but surely getting back on the horse. Get right back on it on Saturday. And, and I've got every faith in them to do that. I've got every faith in the manager to come up with a game plan to nullify Rangers as well, and include Maida in that too, doing his defensive chores and duties. So, yeah, listen, if you asked me 2 weeks ago, we were all kind of thinking about, that's looming large. We weren't on form. And I don't think we've hit top form in the last 2 games either. But we're getting better. So the green shoots of recovery, as I was saying. And I think Saturday's a right opportunity. The guys know how important it is. So, yeah, I think I'm more confident about Saturday than I was after the Hearts game. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, we've seen those positive shoots sort of coming out of the ground with regard to the form being back a wee bit, especially in that second half. I think Celtic played to the levels that they played in the second half. If they can replicate that at home, then I think they'll be okay in the game, to be honest with you, because they'll take those chances that they didn't take. They'll know. Brendan Rodgers will tell them what's on the line on Saturday. I realise that this has become a bit of a preview for the Rangers game, but it is the next game coming up. And he'll know exactly what to say to these players, because he knew exactly what to say to them before the Ibrox game. So I'm sure it'll be the same in the reverse fixture.
Yeah.
Before we sort of finish off, I realise we've been going on for 42 minutes now. Is there any other sort of things that you want to talk about with regard to the game? Anything outside the game? I know that Ideguchi seems to be going to Vissel Kobe, which is Kyogo's old team, also famous for having Iniesta at 1.2. Is there anything else you want to talk about regarding Celtic?
No, I think we've covered most of it. Just wanted to extend my love to Smell the Glove. You know what I mean? And say thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your comments. Do appreciate it. Hey, peace and goodwill and love to all men and women, isn't it? So yeah, we can agree to disagree. That's what makes this show one of the best podcasts around, because we do air comments like that and we're not shy of addressing them. So yeah, it's we love opinions, don't we, Ryan? We love the wee community we've built, and we love the fact that we've had 2 wins at Navien. Top man. Feelings mutual, sir. You better believe it. Yeah, and I think
we love the discourse and the debate, and it makes this podcast what it is. If everybody had the same opinion, then it'd be boring. You'd be hearing the same thing. It'd be an echo chamber. You'd hear the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But I think every opinion is broadcast and on these podcasts, and that's good, because the more opinions, the better.
Let's put it this way: we value it, don't we? We value our subscribers. We value the people that come in and are regular contributors. That's why we read them out, give them their say in. I think as well, and I've said this before, I'm 51, my brain's still evolving, I'm still learning, and I learn a lot from you guys that come in and say things that maybe I didn't notice, didn't pick up. Always have my eyes open and my ears open, or I try to anyway. And I try and be as honest as I can, try and be as, as humorous as we can at times as well, if it allows. And yeah, I think we're open books that way. We kind of harp our sleeve stuff as well, and that's fine. And so, yeah, we appreciate it, and I hope you've had a wonderful couple of days. And it's just it's going to be a long wait till Saturday, isn't it? Because it's going
to be anticipation. There's an anticipation now rather than a dread.
Yeah, it's going to define your new year, isn't it? But I think everybody's a lot more confident now, aren't they, guys? Let's look at it that way. If we've had our blip, let's hope that's it over and done with. And as I say, we're back on the horse, back on the bike, and we're getting there.
Quick fire. one or two word answer with this. Hazel Finn asks, CCV doesn't make it. Who do you play?
I know who you'll play.
Stephen Welsh.
I think Stephen Welsh has to play, doesn't he? Because he's the one that's been playing most. You cannot draft someone in.
It wouldn't make sense. Navrovsky, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think you would have to play Stephen Welsh, wouldn't you? And you know what?
You're expecting me to say Navrovsky, but...
no, well, I was thinking in my head, I know who you would want to play. I maybe phrased that wrong. I know who you would want to be. You know, but I think you would play Welsh, yeah. You have to play Welsh, but I'm 100% certain that Cameron Carter-Vickers will play. I would be very, very shocked if he didn't make it. Yeah, so...
He plays for the pain barrier always. If he wants a rest, he can take a rest maybe in the St Mirren game, although probably better off not resting players. After the last time we rested players against St Mirren, that was a nightmare game just over a year ago under Ange. But yeah, we've got 2 more games until the winter break. We've got Rangers next at home. Massive game, the Glasgow Derby. Looking forward to covering that in the days to come. And then we've got St Mirren a couple of days later on. So yeah, it's still an exciting time. The festive period is still with us. And Celtic, we've got another win. You know, another Christmas present is under the tree now. 6 points from 6, and this wee extended run keeps on going, which is good. Thank you to everybody in the comments for joining us. We know that it's a really busy day with Boxing Day, etc. But thank you for choosing to join us on this Boxing Day. We could not do it without you. If you are interested and you do want to keep it informed and keep the channel going, basically, because without your help and support, we couldn't possibly do this. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. All it takes is one click if you've got an account on YouTube. If you don't, then please make one and press the subscribe button. It really does help us with our algorithms. It helps us increase our reach. We've had such a big growth in the past couple of weeks due to Hamish joining the team, and we're hoping to make it even bigger. We're trying to aim to get to sort of 9,000s and 10,000s before the middle of next year. So if we can do that, then we would really, really appreciate it. And if you want to read what we do on the Celtic Way website, please, for £4 a month, £4 for 4 months, or £18 for the full year, www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. We've got the instant analysis on there from Tony and myself. We've got Q&As, 2 from Rogers and 1 from Cal McGregor. So you've got plenty to read after your Boxing Day dinner. Tony, thank you very much for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. You get yourself home and enjoy your day off tomorrow.
Thanks very much. The road and miles to Dundee, it's always good to come and watch Celtic away from home, but it's always better to get home to your family. It's a family time, isn't it? And I hope you all had a wonderful time yesterday, guys. A great Christmas, and hopefully we're all celebrating a good New Year. A lot result dependent on December the 30th, isn't it? But we'll build up the preview to that in the coming days. Ryan, thank you so much. You're always kind. You're always a help to me, so you get me through these things, technology-wise, et al. But yeah, guys, we shall speak to you soon. Hamish and Ryan will be on tomorrow, I believe. Is that right? Yeah.
10 o'clock on the dot, we'll be on talking about the game in more detail. I will be working on a StatsBomb piece tomorrow that should be going out early afternoon. So I will endeavour to let everybody know whenever that comes out. Once again, guys, hope you enjoy the rest of the festive period that's going on. We really do appreciate it. Hopefully all your families are well and doing okay, and you're enjoying the festive football as well. Always a bit easier to watch more of the football. It doesn't concern Celtic when Celtic win. I'm sure everybody can enjoy some of the Premier League games now that Celtic have won that game.
Yes, I'm going to end with this one. I have to flick this comment up because it's brilliant. Stay gold. There's only one Dyson way. This is stay on the glove. Love that.
Love from that. Smell the glove.
Yeah,
Pony Boy, I think it is. I did that in high school. But yeah, thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you, Tony, once again, and we will see you all on the channel tomorrow morning. Until then, have a very good Boxing Day and stay safe. Cheers.